After a 7-year relationship, my boyfriend dumped me without warning and immediately hooked up with my roommate. Now I'm past my prime, constantly hitting walls in the dating scene. 10 years later, my ex-roommate shows up to our class reunion dressed head to toe in Prada, clinging to Leo, now a successful and celebrated man. And me? I wore a 9 yuan t-shirt from a flash sale and drove a BYD. People openly mocked me for being broke. Someone joked, "Celine, give me a ride later, will you? Save me from calling a Didi." I declined. "My housekeeper's coming to pick up the car. I can't take you." The whole room burst into laughter, saying I was trying way too hard to show off. My ex shot me a mocking look. "Celine, you haven't changed at all, still vain and shallow." Chapter 1. The way I met Leo was straight out of a cliché. It was during military training. He fell for me at first sight and chased me for 3 months, earning himself the title of the campus's most notorious simp with a trust fund. He showed up in a sports car with 999 roses. I called it tacky. He stood outside the girls' dorm all night in the pouring rain. I called him an idiot. But one night, during a student club dinner, a jerk of an instructor pressured me to drink. Leo stepped in and shielded me. That night, he downed half a bottle of baijiu mixed with beer and ended up vomiting until the sky spun. It was the first time I didn't brush him off. I let him hold my hand and ramble nonsense all night. The next day, when he found out I hadn't slept at all, staying by his hospital bed, his eyes turned red with emotion. "Celine, would you please look back at me?" 6 months into dating, Leo said he wanted me to meet his mom. I was a nervous wreck, wearing my best outfit and light makeup, standing timidly in front of his family's 800-square-meter villa complex. To my surprise, his whole family was very welcoming. They'd even decorated the walls with fresh flowers and prepared a huge meal. But the moment I scooped up a full spoonful of caviar and ate it in one bite, the always smiling auntie froze, her eyes flashing with contempt. Leo gently reminded me, "That's not how you eat caviar." My face flushed instantly. Shame and embarrassment washed over me as I felt the mocking glances from all around. I wanted to disappear into the floor. That feeling lingered through all 8 years of our relationship. He slowly taught me the rules and etiquette of high society, step by step, molding me into someone who could blend into their world. When we graduated, I was stressed out about not finding a good job. Leo, on the other hand, walked right into an elite corporate job, working under his uncle. I was losing sleep from anxiety. He joked, "Why don't you just come work for my family as my personal housekeeper? Mom wants a grandkid anyway. Quit your job and stay home to take care of me. Once the baby comes, we'll get married." I instinctively said no. That turned into our worst argument ever. We didn't speak for a whole month. Eventually, Leo gave in and apologized. I softened. At the time, I thought I was being responsible, planning for our future. What I didn't realize was that Leo had already cut me out of his. Chapter 2. Eventually, I found a job I really liked. Life started getting back on track. When we reached our 7th year together, I asked him carefully, "My parents are asking when we're getting married. What do you think?" His expression didn't change. He just smiled and said, "Career first, then marriage." That new year, I went to his house as usual, but I accidentally overheard his parents talking. "She's pretty, sure, but not the obedient type. Doesn't even want kids. A girl from the countryside with an out-of-town ID? If she won't give us a grandson, she can forget about marrying into our family." They said it in Shanghainese, thinking I couldn't understand, but I'd lived in Shanghai for 7 years. I understood every word. I froze mid-dishwashing. That night, I left quietly, without a word. Still, a relationship takes two. I wanted to hear what Leo had to say. The next day, he rushed over to my rented apartment. Just as he started to explain, I stopped him. We went to the movies together. In recent years, my career had been booming, and we rarely had time alone. On screen, the male lead knelt to propose to the heroine. Right next to us, a man also dropped to one knee and proposed to his girlfriend. The whole theater erupted in cheers and flying confetti, all except for one person. When I caught the look in Leo's eyes, hesitant, distant, my heart went cold. I forced a smile and asked, "We're at that age too. Should we think about getting married?" Under the shower of red confetti, He still looked like that boy I fell for 8 years ago. But his eyes? They were completely empty of love. He frowned. Celine, are you that desperate to get married? My throat tightened, and I couldn't utter a single word as I looked at his face. From that day on, the man who used to come home on time started leaving early and returning late. Sometimes, he didn't come home at all. Leo claimed it was because the project was at a critical stage, and staying at the office made it easier to keep up with the progress. But when I finally mustered the courage to bring a homemade lunch to reconcile with him, I realized just how badly I'd been played. In his private studio, a seductive woman was straddling his lap, giggling. So, when are you breaking up with that country bumpkin? Aren't you tired of sleeping with her for so long? Leo lowered his head, toying with her delicate, flawless hands, so much softer and prettier than my calloused ones from years of housework. His voice was laced with barely disguised disdain. Soon, I need her to bring it up first. After all, she's been with me for 7 years. I don't want people calling me a fuckboy behind my back. My legs gave out and I slid down the doorframe. Tears streamed uncontrollably down my cheeks. So this whole time, he'd been pulling away just to emotionally freeze me out, forcing me to be the one to end it. Well played, Leo. Real slick. But in the next second, the woman turned her head as if sensing my presence, and the blood froze in my veins. It was Sabrina, my college roommate and so-called best friend for 4 years. A Shanghai-born only child from a wealthy family. She had once been inseparable from me on campus. Every time Leo and I fought, she would gently advise me, Celine, Leo's a great catch and he treats you well. Don't push him away. I used to think she genuinely cared about me. Turns out she was screwing my boyfriend behind my back the whole time, wearing patent leather heels that showed off her long, elegant legs. Her always gentle smile now curved into a perfect sneer. Well, guess we've been caught. Not a hint of panic in her tone, compared to her confidence. My apologetic stance with the lunchbox made me look pitiful. Leo's face turned pale, but Sabrina held him down. She swayed over with her slim waist, taunting, Celine, since you found out, I won't bother pretending. I've been with Leo for a year. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. A year ago, that was when she started working at Leo's company. She looked at my paper-white face with glee and added proudly, we're all adults here. When it comes to marriage, it's about matching social status. You're just a small-town nobody. How could you possibly be good enough for Leo? Each word slapped me across the face like an invisible hand. My fingers went limp and the lunchbox crashed to the floor, food and soup splattering everywhere. Leo looked slightly guilty, opened his mouth to explain, but I slapped him hard across the face. Leo, you make me sick. He froze, humiliated, and lashed out. Celine, quit acting like some victim. Don't think I don't know. You were just after my Shanghai household registration. You wanted to marry up and settle here. My mom was right. You're just a gold-digging wannabe. I stared at him in disbelief, the last shred of love I had for him gone in an instant, choking back sobs. So that's what I am to you? Worthless? Seeing me break down, Leo cursed under his breath and barked at his secretary to throw me out. People go up. Water flows down. It's the law of the adult world. Celine, you're not a kid anymore. You should understand that. With swollen eyes, I walked out of Leo's company under the mocking gaze of everyone watching the drama unfold. It was the lowest, most humiliating moment of my life. My heart felt like it was being stabbed over and over. After the breakup, I spent a month and a days in my tiny rental, crying every day. When spring festival came, my family called and arranged a blind date. The man was 30, divorced, with a kid. My mom stood beside me, fawning. My daughter Celine is 2 years younger than you. She's a project manager in big city Shanghai. A perfect match. The greasy man looked me over like inspecting merchandise. Pretty enough, I guess. But I heard she already had a boyfriend in Shanghai. Let's be real. That makes her second-hand. I'll pay 20,000 yuan max for the bride price. But the dowry better be at least 180,000. And no working after marriage. She needs to stay home and raise my kid. I didn't hear the rest, because I flipped the damn table. Because of that, I got kicked out by my mom. She screamed she no longer had a daughter like me. Dragging my suitcase, I returned to Shanghai alone on New Year's Eve. That year, I had no one. I'd lost a 7-year relationship and burned every bridge home. I threw myself into work like a maniac. Within months, I signed several big contracts and built a name for myself in the industry. But the promotion I earned was stolen by a nepotism hire. Furious, I handed in my resignation. The boss gave me a cold look and sneered. Don't get cocky just because you did something right once. This isn't a city where dreams come true just because you have them. You're not young anymore. Don't end up jobless and crawling back to the countryside. I just smiled and looked out at the dazzling city lights, then walked out without looking back. Chapter 3. At the class reunion, Sabrina showed up in full Prada, arm in arm with the now successful Leo. Years had passed, some had climbed to the top. Others were still struggling at the bottom. They were clearly the former, surrounded by flattery and bootlicking. You two make such a power couple. I heard Leo started an interior design company that's making waves in the industry? Sabrina, you're looking even younger than you did in college. Money really is the best skincare. Huh? I'm job hunting lately, Leo. Any chance you'd throw an old classmate a bone? Sabrina was basking in the praise, handling it as gracefully as she did back in university. And me? I stepped out of my BYD in a $1.50 white t-shirt from an online sale, and instantly became the punchline. Well, if it isn't Celine. Everyone turned to look. As Leo's ex, I drew a lot of subtle and not-so-subtle stares from those who knew the history. Sabrina glanced at me with feigned innocence and exaggerated surprise. No way, Celine. Are you really doing that bad now? Driving for rideshare apps to get by? Seeing my expressionless face, she rushed to apologize with fake sincerity. Oops. Sorry. I didn't mean to be rude. It's just that I really didn't expect you'd fall this far after leaving my husband. It was true. After all, he did treat you badly. You two broke up when you were 28, right? Wasted your best years. And now you're too old to marry. One jab after another. No one stood up for me. They were all just waiting to watch the drama unfold. Leo gently wrapped an arm around Sabrina's waist, playfully tapped her nose, and said dotingly, "That's enough. Don't be mean." Looking at their familiar yet strange faces, I felt a moment of disconnect. It had been too long. The memories were a blur. When Leo and I first got together, we'd had our sweet moments. The rich boy who never lifted a finger in the kitchen once cooked for me just to make me smile. I'd heard that after marrying Sabrina, he still cooked for her. With no kids, they traveled often, still just as sweet. Everyone called them soulmates. And with Leo making over $1 million a year before age 35, it was hard not to envy them. They stood under the spotlight, soaking in everyone's praise. I sat in a quiet corner, quietly eating my meal. Someone cut in with excitement. "Hey, have you seen the trending news? There's this insanely hot new business mogul, made the Forbes list at 25. Looks like a Russian male model." She enlarged the photo for everyone to see. Broad shoulders, narrow waist, sharp features, icy eyes. He was the definition of a cold-hearted heartthrob. But I heard he's already married to his business partner. She's 10 years older than him. The room buzzed with disbelief. A man that rich and good-looking, married to someone so much older? I smiled. In my earphones, a familiar smug voice chirped, "Wifey, wifey, look at my sexy selfie." Ding, there he was, lounging in a bathtub, robe loosely tied around his waist, revealing those bronze 8-pack abs. That same face that looked like a cold CEO in press releases, now lit up with a goofy grin like a golden retriever begging for praise. As the banquet wound down, someone joked, "Hey Celine, give me a ride later, will you? Save me a few bucks on Didi." I replied calmly, "My driver will pick up the car. I can't give you a ride." The room burst into laughter, accusing me of putting on airs. The ridicule came like a wave, but I didn't react. I turned and walked away. That's when Sabrina scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Don't tell me you're trying to pass that BYD off as your nanny's car?" God, the act is too much. I nodded truthfully. That was the nanny's car. Leo sneered. "Celine, you haven't changed one bit, still vain and shallow." Then he laughed in disbelief. "If your nanny took the car, how are you getting home?" I said plainly, "My husband's picking me up." The room went dead silent. Leo's face twisted. "You got married? Celine, don't joke around. You're in your 30s. What man would want you?" Just as I was about to respond, a sleek black Bugatti Night Edition purred to a stop outside. The limited edition supercar's engine growl turned every head in the room. Sam stepped out in a sharp suit and walked toward me. Ignoring Leo's murderous glare, he gently kissed my cheek and said in a low, deep voice, "Wife, I'm here." Chapter 4. Sam was your typical spoiled rich boy. The first time I saw him, he was flaunting his sports car while trying, badly, to flirt with a girl. The girl, clearly annoyed by his persistence, casually tossed him a contact. "That's my dad's number. He runs the research institute. I don't make the decisions. If you want the license, go talk to him yourself." The gilded business card fluttered to the ground near his feet, a gesture meant to humiliate, but Sam didn't even flinch. He smiled, bent down to pick it up, and even thanked her politely. At the time, he and I were rivals vying for the same patent license. The professor running the institute was notoriously hard to persuade unless you knew how to get to him through his daughter. Sam beat me to it. He turned and caught my curious gaze, then patted the bench beside him with the smugness of a winner. "Didn't expect a guy like you to stoop so low," I teased, sitting down. By then, we'd been going head to head over this project for months. We knew each other's strengths well enough. Sam pushed his fringe back, revealing a smooth, wide forehead. He shrugged. "Miss Celine, didn't you know? I'm an illegitimate child. This kind of humiliation doesn't even register anymore." He said it casually, but I caught the hint of bitterness in his tone. For once, our usual bickering paused. I flipped through a fresh annual report, glanced at him, and said, "Ever considered joining my company?" After quitting my job, I had used my savings to start a small firm. Within a few years, I'd made a name for myself in the industry. Compared to Sam's scrappy little studio, my offer was clearly more tempting. He turned to me, surprised. What made you say that all of a sudden?" Then, as if sensing a trap, he scooted toward the driver's seat and squinted at me. "Just so we're clear, I sell skills, not my body. If you're into this handsome face, I'm not for sale." I snorted, kicked off my painful heels, and laid out a generous offer. "I know your situation. Your father has 2 sons. Your older brother controls the family conglomerate. Apart from dividend payouts, you've been left to fend for yourself. You've been running in circles for 2 years now, and nothing's really taken off. But I'm different. I've worked in this industry for nearly a decade. I have a solid network of contacts. What I lack is capital. If you're willing to become my partner, I guarantee the company will go public in 3 years, and you'll get a return worth your risk." Sam stayed silent, thumbing through the reports. I could see him calculating. After all, becoming a business partner meant investing tens of millions. Even if he was rich and reckless, he'd still need to think it through. I reached into my bag, pulled out 2 cold beers, popped one open, and handed it to him. "Property prices keep soaring. Your brother's real estate empire is practically foolproof. But if you want to compete with him, try a different game. You don't want to spend your whole life under his boot, do you?" That line seemed to strike a nerve. Sam froze for a second, then smirked and nodded. "All right, I'll bet on you." Chapter 5. After that day, Sam went home and asked his mom for 20 million yuan, basically draining her entire life savings. I brought him to the office to meet the team. These were all old colleagues who had followed me after I left my last company to go independent. The receptionist took one look at Sam and her eyes instantly turned into heart emojis. Clinging to my arm, she whispered, "Boss, this new partner of yours is way too handsome. He looks better than a movie star. And that body? Damn, you can tell he works out. I can't believe I get to see him every day. I might actually enjoy coming to work now." Funny how that tone vanished the moment Sam officially joined the team. Sam, when he worked, was a total maniac. He practically lived in the office while I was out securing deals. He stayed behind refining proposals, reworking plans, and dragging the whole team into late-night work sprints. He often stayed up all night working alone. Eventually, his mother, clearly worried, reached out to me. The elegant, high-society matriarch sipped her coffee and sighed. "I just don't get that boy. I pulled every string to get him into the upper crust. Instead of enjoying the carefree life of a second-generation heir, he's here working himself to death like some corporate mule. He must have hit his head or something." Her bluntness was almost comically out of sync with her polished appearance. Exactly like Sam. I just smiled, poured her another cup, and handed her a copy of our company's latest stock performance. She went quiet. Those beautiful eyes, eerily similar to Sam's, widened as she scanned the figures. Good Lord. You're making this much? I nodded, grinning. Then I heard her mumble under her breath. When Sam asked me for the money, I kept a bit in reserve. Is it too late to invest? I've got another 10 million ready. With that new round of hot investment money in hand, I strutted back into the office, only to find Sam, shirt half unbuttoned, floral shirt screaming for attention, lounging in my boss chair like a peacock. As soon as he saw me, he jumped up nervously. My mom didn't give you a hard time, right? I didn't answer immediately, which made him panic. She's always like that. She thinks I'm wasting my life and only came here to hit on girls. Don't listen to her. I swear I'm here to make real money. I pointed to the company rulebook and said with a straight face, relax. Company policy, no office dating. So if that's what you're after, don't even think about it. I'm not sure why, but as soon as I finished that sentence, Sam's whole face fell. He looked like a puppy whose favorite chew toy had just been taken away. He didn't argue, just stared at me with this soulful, heartbroken look. Me? I had a black card burning in my pocket and was too busy grinning ear to ear, planning a company feast that night. Romantic turmoil from a lovesick boy? Not my concern. Chapter 6. Everything was going smoothly, except for one thing, my love life. I was pressured into marriage again on my 33rd birthday. My parents traveled all the way from our hometown just to stage an intervention in my office. Sweetie, they pleaded. We know you're amazing, you've earned more than most men do in a lifetime. But a woman can't go her whole life without marrying or having kids. Who's going to take care of you when you're old? If you don't settle down, your dad and I can't even sleep at night. Over the years, our company had gone public. I sent more and more money home, even hired a nanny to take care of their daily needs. My dad used to smoke Zhonghua cigarettes and brag to anyone who'd listen. My daughter's not your average kid. She's basically a money printing machine, makes enough to buy 3 apartments in the city every year. Good thing she didn't marry that loser we picked for her back in the day, or she'd be stuck at home now cooking and raising babies. But people change, and once all the neighbors started showing off their grandkids, my parents began to change their tune. Humans are never satisfied. While fielding their pleas and complaints, I was also buried in work, and in a moment of frustration, I accidentally chucked a folder at Sam while he was reporting to me. At 25, Sam hadn't gained a pound since we first met, if anything. He'd only gotten hotter. After becoming our go-to spokesperson for public events, he was practically the face of our company. I rubbed my temples and apologized, but he simply circled around to stand behind me. His long, well-defined fingers started massaging my scalp, smiling politely at my dramatic, half-crying mother. He said, Auntie, actually, Celine and I are already together. She just didn't want to say anything because she's shy. My mom is a sucker for pretty faces. The moment she saw his, the kind that wins over both men and women, her jaw dropped wide enough to fit 2 eggs. I watched in awe as Sam smoothed over everything in just a few sentences. He charmed my parents so effortlessly that even I had to admit, this guy had skills. After they left, I dragged him into my office and slammed the door behind us, shutting out the curious eyes of our gossip-hungry staff. Arms crossed, I demanded, Sam, what the hell was that? He flashed that trademark cocky grin. No need to thank me. Helping the boss manage personal crises is just part of my job. Then he suddenly turned serious. Celine, what do you think of me? Think what? I mean, I'm good-looking, got an 8-pack. I'm 6 feet 2 inches, and I'm young and healthy. I'm pretty sure I'd be a premium listing on the dating market. Instead of wasting time on blind dates with randos, why not consider me? That year, I finally gave in and let Sam come home with me for the new year. My mom insisted on it, so I gave him double his year-end bonus and told him it counted as working overtime. By the time I came back from walking around the neighborhood, he and my dad were already plastered, swaying together and swearing brotherhood in the living room under a photo of Guangdong. My mom was calling him good son nonstop after he accompanied her to a public square dance the day before. Even our family dog, who used to be glued to my side, Now ran straight to Sam every time he showed up, because he'd bribed it with sausages, watching him charm everyone around him. I ground my teeth in frustration, but there was nothing I could do, especially because I hadn't exactly held the line either. One drunken night with a dark sky and high winds. My lips accidentally found Sam's face. Then we accidentally ended up in the same bed. And next thing you know, we were accidentally living together. I had been worried his family wouldn't approve until I heard his mom scream with joy on the phone when she found out we were dating. "Atta boy, you did it! Worth every penny you gambled away for that wedding fund. You relied on your dad for the first half of your life. Now you've got your wife for the second half. My son's got it made." Meanwhile, Sam was whistling while doing my laundry, yes, including my underwear. I kicked him. Company policy says no office romance. It's bad form for the CEO to break her own rule. You know? He leaned in with a shameless smile, his handsome face inches from mine. But we're not having a secret office romance. Ours is very much out in the open. I had no comeback. I was, in that moment, thoroughly defeated by his sheer shamelessness. Chapter 7. Sam was supposed to accompany me to today's class reunion, but something urgent came up, and our car was out for maintenance, so I just drove the nanny van myself. What I didn't expect was that, after all these years, our old classmates were still the same, superficial and snobbish. The woman who'd just been gushing over Sam's photo a moment ago was now shrieking with disbelief. "Sam? Did you just call Celine your wife? What the hell is going on?" Sam took off his jacket and draped it over my shoulders. With a sharp, sweeping glance, everyone in the room instinctively recoiled. He smiled lightly, took my hand, and said, "Celine and I registered our marriage last month. She's my wife. Any questions?" The woman's face twisted with embarrassment. She stared at me in disbelief, then snapped bitterly, "That's impossible. Celine's already 35. You're insanely rich and stupidly handsome. How could you be into some old hag like her?" Her words opened the floodgates. Yeah, I mean, Celine was definitely hot back in school. But she's aged so much. Did she blackmail him or something? They don't match at all. Sam looks like he's her sugar baby. Is this guy even real? Maybe she hired an actor who just looks like Sam. I mean, just look at her outfit. She probably doesn't even have $100 on her. If she really married Sam, how could she dress so cheap? That last one came from Sabrina. She'd never believed I could land someone like Sam. In her eyes, I was always destined to live at the bottom of society, staring up in envy at her and Leo's perfect life. Leo's expression, which had been dark all evening, finally brightened. He raised his glass and approached me, wearing the smug look of someone whose suspicions were confirmed. "Celine, wow, I didn't think you'd go this far just to show off. That Bugatti outside must be rented." "Huh? Costs what? Over 10 grand an hour? Better return it before you end up eating plain buns for 6 months. The crowd burst into laughter. A few guys, drunk and obnoxious, started whistling and joking. "Yo kid, how much is she paying you for today? You look just like that hotshot from the finance world." "Not bad. I'll double whatever she's paying. Come hang out with me instead." "Yeah?" One guy's greasy eyes ran up and down Sam, clearly undressing him in his mind. Sam's hand clenched into a fist inside his sleeve. I quickly patted him gently to calm him down. I had no interest in engaging with this circus, so I grabbed his hand and tried to leave. But of course, someone just had to push their luck. The next second, crack, the hand that reached out to point at me was instantly snapped back by Sam. A guttural scream filled the room. "Holy shit! That gigolo hit someone? I'm calling the cops. My finger might be broken. What the hell?" Sam's eyes turned glacial, the kind of cold that makes your blood run. Then he locked eyes on Leo and began walking toward him. Leo was already tall, but Sam was half a head taller. His towering presence instantly deflated Leo's bravado. "You're the one who used to date my wife, right?" Sam looked him up and down, then spat out 2 words with absolute contempt. "Trash quality." Leo nearly exploded, his face turning beet red. He looked like he was about to charge at Sam. Too bad Sam's bodyguards had already taken control of the scene. Sabrina grabbed Leo's arm tightly, barely stopping him in time. "Don't be stupid. That might really be Sam. Didn't you see the outfit? That's this year's Chanel Couture. And he's wearing a Patek Philippe worth over 10 million. Celine couldn't afford any of that even if she sold her organs. Almost like a scripted entrance, the restaurant owner came rushing in at that exact moment. He bowed repeatedly, wiping sweat from his forehead as he greeted Sam. "Mr. Sam, what an honor to have you here tonight. Please, if anything has displeased you, we can work something out privately. How about I comp your whole meal tonight as an apology?" The entire room went dead silent. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This restaurant was one of the priciest in the city. Tonight's party had 10 full tables. It had to cost at least 400 to 500 grand. And yet the owner was willing to eat the whole bill just to apologize to Sam. Chapter 8. The atmosphere froze instantly, an oppressive silence blanketed the room. Only then did everyone begin to realize everything I had said was true. Leo looked like he'd just swallowed manure, face green, voice dripping with sarcasm. He said, "Well, seems like life's been good to you, Celine. You landed yourself a sugar daddy." Huh? Bro, what the hell do you even see in this old woman? He barely got the words out before I slapped him hard across the face. Leo couldn't take it anymore. He lunged at me, but Sam's bodyguards instantly pinned him to the ground. His designer suit was now stained and wrinkled. His meticulously styled hair had turned into a bird's nest, and he squirmed on the floor like a pathetic earthworm, dirty, disheveled, and utterly ridiculous. Sabrina looked heartbroken and furious, but she didn't dare say a word to me. After all, with my current power, destroying Leo's company would be as easy as swatting a fly. One of the bodyguards bowed respectfully and asked, "Boss, what should we do with him?" I waved dismissively and said, "Beat him up and toss him out." For a man like Leo, whose ego was everything, public humiliation was worse than death. Watching that, the other classmates instantly changed their tune. They practically swarmed me, all smiles and flattery, acting like we were long-lost best friends. "Celine, remember me? We were dorm mates back in college." "Celine, I just got laid off recently. Is your company hiring? Could I send you my resume?" "Me too. Me too." In a forgotten corner of the room, Leo, his face bruised and bloodied, lay on the floor, seething in impotent rage. I walked out under the envious and jealous gazes of everyone present and slid into the passenger seat of Sam's car. Just as Leo's pitiful screams echoed behind us, the windows rolled up, sealing off the outside world. Sam gripped my hand tightly, possessive and annoyed. "You're not going to another one of these filthy reunions again, okay? Those so-called old classmates, ugh. A bunch of status-worshipping snakes. The moment they found out who you were, they all wanted to crawl into your lap." I chuckled and soothed him like I would a jealous puppy. A moment later, he cheered up, then pulled out a necklace from his coat, a radiant pearl necklace, centered with a priceless blue sapphire. It glimmered like art under the night lights. With slender, pale fingers, he clasped it around my neck, eyes glowing with admiration. The moment I saw it, I knew it was made for you. I smiled and glanced at myself through my phone's selfie camera. The 35-year-old Celine had fine lines at the corners of her eyes, and deeper nasolabial folds than before, but what time left behind wasn't just aging. It was grace, poise, and presence. At 25, Celine had been a dazzling beauty in the crowd, admired and judged by her peers as a pretty face. At 35, she had become a panther with ambition, capable of earning everything she desired, whether power or love. After snapping a photo, Sam immediately set it as his wallpaper. Then, like always, he asked if I wanted to retouch it before posting. I shook my head with a smile. Those hard-earned wrinkles were my battle scars, proof of the path I'd carved on my own. I embraced them, just as I embraced myself. Chapter 9. I ran into Leo again at a completely ordinary dinner. After that reunion, Sam wasted no time and went straight for Leo's small company, ruthless and efficient, cutting off all his chances to stay afloat in the industry. The woman who once claimed to love him with all her heart, Sabrina, bolted with the money the moment she heard he went bankrupt. I heard their divorce lawsuit's been dragging on forever. Leo, bitter over her betrayal, swore to drag her down with him if it was the last thing he did. The proud and ambitious Leo was long gone. In his place stood a washed-up middle-aged man with a hunched back, clinking glasses and begging for investment at a dinner full of industry giants. He didn't even qualify for a seat, just stood behind one of the bigwigs, pouring drinks like a waiter. When he noticed me, something like awe flickered in his eyes. Celine, you. But before he could finish, someone threw a glass of red wine right in his face, staining his white shirt crimson. It was humiliating. The man who'd tossed the wine sneered from his nose and barked, "You think you can speak to the boss that way? You'd better apologize." Leo's face burned red. He lowered his head and stayed silent, his eyes filled with humiliation. I didn't come to laugh at him. I was about to say something, when I suddenly heard his muffled sobs. "If I hadn't chosen Sabrina back then, would the one standing beside you today be me?" His expression was torn, remorse, pain, helplessness all tangled together. "No," I said flatly, "because you never deserved it." I let him stand there, drowning in mockery and scorn, and said quietly, "People rise. Water flows downward. You told me that 10 years ago. Now, I'm saying it back to you." In that moment, I saw it. The light in Leo's eyes died. Like a puppet whose strings had been cut, he staggered out of the room, spiritless and broken. I stood up calmly and left. No one dared question me, because at that table, I was the one holding all the cards. As I stepped out of the restaurant, I heard a loud crash behind me, followed by screams and chaos. I didn't look back, just got in the car and told the driver to go. My future is a wide open road. Leo? He's just a piece of rubble I kicked aside, falling right back into the filthy swamp he always belonged to.